Have you ever had one of those moments, really uncanny one, where some piece of knowledge, like it just seems to find you. You might be scrolling online or looking for something totally different, and bam, there's this article or a book or, well, like today, a video.
And the timing feels perfect. Almost engineered.
Exactly. Orchestrated. Like it didn't just pop up randomly. It landed right when you needed that specific puzzle piece.
Yeah, that feeling, that synchronicity, isn't it? Makes you really pause and question, well, what is coincidence anyway?
Right.
And the ancients, they really got this. You look at the wisdom tied to Thoth, the Egyptian god of, divine timing, knowledge. His whole deal was that nothing's random. Everything follows this universal rhythm. And what's really fascinating, and our source material today really flags this, is this recurring detail. People consistently report finding truly life-altering knowledge, the kind that just shifts your whole perspective.
Okay.
Exactly 7 days before some big, irreversible change happens in their life, externally.
Wow, 7 days. Yeah. That specific number. It's incredibly compelling, isn't it?
It is.
It suggests there's this internal alignment happening first, and then the universe kind of slides the instruction manual over just before you actually need it for the big shift.
Precisely. So if you're listening now, maybe feeling like you're on the edge of something, well, maybe this is your 7-day moment. You're caught in that.
And that perfect timing, it brings us right here to what we want to dive into today.
We're unpacking a pretty radical idea, one that weaves together, ancient Hermetic stuff like from Thoth with some quite hard-edged modern science.
Okay, lay it on us. What's the assertion?
It's this. Your life patterns right now. The successes you keep finding, sure, but also the struggles that keep repeating.
Yeah, those familiar roadblocks.
Exactly. The income ceilings you bump up against, the relationship pattern. They were not just random chaos. They actually follow specific, measurable, universal laws.
And the really mind-bending part of this, the core claim, is that our thoughts, our inner monologue, it's not just abstract fluff contained in our heads.
Not at all. The claim is they're literally measurable electromagnetic broadcast, sending out a unique signal into, reality itself.
And that broadcast is shaping what we experience, whether we realize it or not.
Consciously or unconsciously, yes, it's shaping outcomes.
Okay, so where are we drawing this from primarily?
So our main source today is the YouTube channel Library of Thoth. And what makes it and the wisdom it compiles so potent is how it bridges that gap, between the spiritual or mystical and the hardcore physics. It merges deep quantum concepts, the latest in neuroscience stuff like neuroplasticity, and then the practical side of ancient Hermetic traditions.
So it's not just philosophy, it's trying to be a how-to guide.
Exactly. A working guide for conscious reality creation. So let's try and shortcut the journey through some of the densest parts right now.
Okay, let's unpack this first big piece. The idea that thoughts are measurable as energy. I mean, for most people, thinking feels entirely internal, right?
Abstract.
Totally. But this perspective forces us to look at the biology, the physics of it.
Yeah.
Every single thought you generate, it creates a distinct, measurable electrical activity in your brain.
Right. The brainwaves we hear about, EEG stuff.
Exactly. We can categorize those electrical impulses by their frequency, basically, how fast the waves are oscillating. You've got delta waves, really slow, it's deep sleep. Okay. Then theta, a bit faster, associated with deep meditation, hypnosis, and also, interestingly, that very suggestible state of early childhood.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
Then alpha waves, that's your relaxed awareness, maybe daydreaming. Beta waves are faster still. That's your everyday active thinking, problem-solving, concentration.
That's probably where most of us are most of the day.
Probably, yeah.
And
you have gamma waves, the fastest one, associated with those big moments of insight, peak focus, the aha moments. Okay, got the different frequencies. But so what? If they're just electrical signals inside my skull, why does it matter beyond, brain funk? The usual view is they stop there.
But see, that's the critical leap the source material makes based on physics. These electromagnetic frequencies, they don't just hit the skull and stop. They radiate outward.
Outward? Into what? Empty space? Not
empty space, no. They're creating ripples in what quantum physicists call the zero-point field, or the ZPF.
The zero-point field. Okay, need a bit more on that.
Right, so the ZPF isn't empty. Think of it as this invisible underlying ocean of pure potential energy that connects absolutely everything in the universe. It's buzzing, theorized to be full of these quantum fluctuations, virtual particles popping in and out. It's this omnipresent sea of energy.
Okay, wow. So my brain isn't just processing information coming in.
It's also a transmitter, a powerful, coherent electromagnetic transmitter, broadcasting your unique, constantly shifting frequency out into that quantum sea.
That really reframes thoughts become things, doesn't it? Makes it sound much more literal, like physics.
It's transmission and reception within this universal, and this is where, ancient wisdom gets a nod from modern, specifically Dr. Rupert Sheldrake's work on morphic resonance.
Morphic resonance, I've heard of that. The idea that there are shared fields of information.
Exactly. Sheldrake's concept suggests consciousness isn't isolated in individual heads. When you think or feel or believe something strongly, you're not just broadcasting PF, you're also tapping into and contributing these collective, non-local fields of information. Morphic. They exist beyond space and time.
So it's like tuning into a cosmic radio station, a shared one.
That's a great analogy. And as you tune into a specific frequency, let's say the frequency of success or maybe the frequency of scarcity, you reinforce that both for yourself and potentially in that collective field.
And that could explain things like simultaneous invention.
Precisely. It offers a potential explanation for why complex ideas, big breaks, maybe innovations like, say, calculus or the telephone, why they often seem to pop up in different places around the globe at roughly the same by people who've never met.
They're tuning into the same ripe frequency in the field.
They're tapping into a field of collective possibility that has just become, let's say, electrically ready for physical realization. It wasn't a secret memo.
Okay, that's huge. And this links directly to the modern neuroscience confirmation, right? The neuroplasticity.
Mm-hmm.
If we're broadcasting, we're also constantly fiddling with the transmitter itself.
Absolutely. Neuroplasticity is the proof. It shows that your repeated thoughts and beliefs, they aren't just fleeting notions, they physically change measure.
Creating new connections.
New synapses form, existing neural pathways get stronger, unused ones get pruned away. And when those brain structures change, it fundamentally alters the electromagnetic patterns your brain is broadcasting.
You're literally upgrading or downgrading the antenna.
You're restructuring the broadcast antenna with every sustained pattern of thought. It's incredible.
The story about Sarah, the graphic designer in the source material, really hits this home. She felt stuck for years, right? Believing she wasn't creative enough.
Stuck in comparison, stress. Her brain would have been dominated by those high beta waves, the stress frequencies, reinforcing that feeling of limitation. Her output was an electromagnetic signature saying, effectively, I'm not worthy of creative success.
But then she consciously shifted.
Yeah, she started intentionally practicing new thought pattern, focusing on possibility, using visualization, gratitude, and her brain physically restructured. The source notes that within months, new neural connections formed. Her brain activity shifted more towards alpha and theta calmer, more creative state. Her stress responses diminished.
And her electromagnetic output changed.
It transformed from frequencies of lack to a coherent broadcast of frequencies of possibility. And the external results.
Success followed. Dream clients, more income.
The universe, or the field, was simply responding to her changed, recalibrated electromagnetic signal. The external shift was the mirror of the internal broadcast changing.
But it's not just the type of thought, the frequency.
Yeah.
It's the power behind it too, right? The intensity.
Exactly. This is absolutely crucial. Emotions act as the amplifier. Think of your emotional state as the volume control on your thought train.
Okay.
A neutral thought, maybe just observation, creates a subtle ripple in the field. But you take a thought and couple it with intense emotion, deep joy, paralyzing fear, focused desire, profound gratitude.
Yeah.
That creates exponentially more powerful electromagnetics, much higher a much stronger.
Which explains why trauma can feel so sticky, or why gratitude practices can feel so potent. It's the emotional charge.
It locks the pattern in.
Yeah.
Trauma generates intense emotional energy, right? It broadcasts that frequency, pain, threat, helplessness at such a high volume, such high amp, that it becomes incredibly, well, the source calls it magnetically attractive.
The field is just responding to the loudest signal it's getting from you.
Pretty much. And conversely, genuine, heartfelt gratitude or excitement, they accelerate manifestation because they're broadcasting possibility, abundance, joy, with intense high amplitude volume. You're sending a much stronger, clearer signal of what you want to resonate.
Okay, this is where it gets really, really interesting for me. Moving from the sort of theory and brainwaves into experimental data, connecting the ancient ideas with stuff we can actually measure. And the anchor for this whole idea seems to be the observer effect from quantum physics.
It really is the bedrock. The observer effect is that undeniable finding from quantum mechanics that proves consciousness isn't just passively receiving information, it's actively involved in creating reality.
The double slit experiment being the classic example.
Exactly. Subatomic particles like electrons or photons, they exist in this blurry state of all possibilities simultaneously, a wave of potential, until the moment a conscious observer interacts, measures them, looks at them.
And the act of observing collapses that wave.
It collapses the wave function, the field of potential, into a specific definite particle in a specific location. Consciousness literally takes possibility and makes it concrete, at least at that fundamental quantum.
Okay, but the skeptic listening might say, fine, tiny particles, weird quantum stuff. How does that affect my mortgage payment or whether I get that promotion? It feels like a leap.
It's a fair challenge, and that's where the experimental evidence needs to bridge the gap. The source material rightly highlights the work of Dr. Dean Radin at the Institute of Noetic Science.
Okay, Radin. What did his work show?
His experiments specifically tried to move beyond just subatomic particles. They aimed to provide measurable proof that focused human intention, pure consciousness, coupled with that emotional certainty we just talked about, can influence physical macroscopics.
Like what kinds of systems?
Well, they showed, for instance, that human intention could subtly influence the output of cascaded random number generators. These are devices designed to produce perfectly random, but focused intention could nudge the output significantly towards the intended outcome.
Wow. Okay.
They also demonstrated that focused human intention could affect biological systems like speeding up or slowing down the growth rate of bacteria.
Affecting bacteria growth with thoughts.
And crucially, they replicated variations of the double-slit experiment, showing that directed human attention could alter the interference patterns of light, even when the person focusing was physically separate from the experiment apparatus.
So if our focused minds can measurably influence random events, bacteria, and light patterns, the idea that our consciousness influences our broader reality seems, well, less far-fetched.
It makes it much harder to dismiss as just wishful thinking, doesn't it? The observer effect isn't just a weird quantum quirk. It's the proof of concept for this whole model of reality through consciousness.
And it loops right back to the ancient wisdom, that Hermetic principle, as above, so below. Suddenly, it's not just mystical poetry.
It becomes almost a scientific description, the fractal nature of reality. The same principles of resonance and observation that operate at the quantum level also operate at the macro level of our life. The universe is one.
The Egyptian mystery schools weren't just guessing.
They likely understood, maybe intuitively or through different means, that everything physical first exists as a potential, an electromagnetic blueprint. And our focused, intentional attention is what collapses that potential tangible world. Vibration precedes.
Now let's focus this down a bit. We talk about the brain broadcasting, but the source material puts huge emphasis on the heart's role, which brings us to heart-brain coherence.
Yes, this is absolutely critical, maybe one of the most important physics. The HeartMath Institute has done fantastic work documenting this. Their research shows the heart's electromagnetic is actually vastly stronger than the brain.
Stronger than the brain's field. Really?
Oh yeah, significant. Orders of magnitude stronger electrically and even more so magnetic. In fact, the heart's field can be measured several feet away from the body with sensitive instruments.
Several feet? Wow.
And it has this distinct shape, a smooth toroidal field, like a donut of energy flowing around in the body. It's constantly broad.
So how does this heart field interact with the brain's broadcast? How does it affect the overall signal?
Well, think about coherence. When your brain and heart are incoherent, maybe your brain is thinking about needing more money, but your heart is gripped by fear or anxiety about lack.
Yeah.
The resulting signal is scrambled, it's weak, discordant, like trying to tune into two different radio stations at once, just noise.
Good.
But when we achieve a state of coherence, which means aligning a clear thought in the brain with a genuine elevated emotion in the heart, appreciation, compassion, joy, then the brain waves and heart rhythms synchronize. They create this powerful, high amplitude, highly ordered, coherent electromagnetic wave. This state doesn't just feel good. It optimizes cognitive function, boosts intuition, and critically, it amplifies the power of your electromagnetic broadcast into...
It's like turning up the volume and tuning the frequency perfectly.
Exactly. And the example from the source, Hattie preparing her garden, it becomes a perfect illustration. She wasn't just digging in the dirt.
She was doing an electromagnetic ritual.
Right. She was combining the physical action, grounding herself in the earth, preparing the soil with the clear emotional intention held in her heart, the feeling of companion, of welcoming it in. That combination, physical action plus heartfelt emotion, creates profound coherence.
And that coherent signal is what the quantum field really pays attention to. More than just a mental wish.
Far more powerfully, yes. The field responds most strongly to coherence and amplitude.
So, okay, pulling this together for the listener, the takeaway is that our combined heart-brain electromagnetic output acts like a tuning fork.
A perfectly calibrated tuning fork. Yeah. Yes, if you constantly vibrate with worry, you are tuning yourself to the frequency of misfortune. The quantum field, acting like that mirror we'll get to, simply resonates back circumstances that validate and amplify that worry. It reinforces the broadcast.
But if you tune to appreciation,
you magnetize experiences that generate more appreciation. It's not about ignoring problems or pretending challenges don't exist. It's about understanding that your internal electromagnetic state, your coherent or incoherent broadcast, is constantly in communication with that field of infinite potential. It's a beacon drawing corresponding outcomes back with frankly, mathematical. Okay, so if the zero-point field is this infinite ocean of all potential reality, then the mirror principle is like the fundamental law governing how you experience that ocean.
How it reflects back to us.
Exactly. The principle asserts that the universe, or maybe more accurately, your perceived reality, operates like a grand, impartial mirror. It reflects back the essence of your inner world, your dominant thoughts, feelings, and crucially, your core beliefs with unwavering, almost mathematical precision.
It's the mechanism turning the broadcast into the physical experience.
It is, and the neurological mechanism ensuring this reflection is so precise starts right inside our own head, with the way our brain filters reality.
The filtering. Okay, let's get specific here. The source material mentions this staggering number, something like 11 million bits of information hitting our senses every second.
That's the estimate, yeah. Sight, sound, smell, touch, taste, just a constant bombardment of raw, completely overwhelming.
Impossible to process consciously.
Utterly impossible. So the brain's primary job isn't actually to absorb all of that. A key job to protect us from that. It filters that massive 11 million bits way, way down.
Down to how much?
Down to about 40 bits per second that actually reach our consciousness. Think about that rate. 11 million down to 40.
That's almost nothing makes them.
Almost nothing. So if the 11 million bits represent objective reality, or at least the potential data, the 40 bits that get through, that's your highly personalized, heavily edited, deeply biased movie version of reality.
Wow. And the brain structure doing this heavy lifting, this intense editing job, is the Reticular Activating System, the RAS.
That's the one, the RAS. Think of it like a vigilant and frankly quite prejudiced bouncer standing at the velvet rope of your conscious awareness.
Okay, a bouncer. What's its entry policy?
Its policy is strict. It only lets in information, observations, opportunities, even people that match what's already on its internal VIP. And that it's made up of your existing core beliefs, your dominant expectations, your ingrained programming about how the world works and who you are.
So it actively looks for confirmation of what we already
actively looks for it and ruthlessly filters out anything that contradicts it. Consider Merchant Harvey from the source material. He looked in the mirror, saw failure, even though his business was, objectively, doing okay.
Why?
Because his RAS, trained over years of self-doubt or perhaps early criticism, was programmed to highlight every tiny mistake, every potential setback, every reason to feel inadequate. Simultaneously, it filtered out evidence of his competence, his successes, any signs of opportunity. His brain was literally constructing a reality of failure for him, making it a self-fulfilling prophecy reflected back by the world.
It's like when you buy a new car. Say, a red convertible.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly you see red convertibles everywhere. They were always there, obviously, but your RAS wasn't tagged to notice them before. Now it is.
Exactly. That's the RAS in action. Now apply that same filtering mechanism not just to cars, but to opportunities, to signs of abundance, to evidence of your own worthiness, or conversely, to evidence of scarcity and limit. It operates on that deeper, life-defining scale.
Which highlights the incredible power of subconscious programming, what neuroscientists call implicit memory.
Yes. Because that's what writes the VIT list for the RAS bounce. This programming, often installed in childhood, when our brains are primarily in those highly receptive, suggestible theta wave states, it continues to run the show, way below conscious awareness.
Dictating what the mirror reflects back.
Absolutely. Those messages we absorbed, maybe money is hard to come by, or you have to struggle for everything, or I'm not lovable, or it's not safe to be successful.
Those common, often limiting programs.
They get embedded deep down, and they operate automatically, creating huge internal conflict later in life. Think about the classic pattern mentioned. The woman who consciously says she wants a loving, respectful partner. She genuinely does. But she has deep-seated implicit memories, maybe from childhood experiences, telling her she's unworthy of that. Her subconscious programming is broadcasting, I don't deserve better, or relationships always end in pain.
And the mirror.
The mirror reality operating with that mathematical precision keeps reflecting back partners or situations that confirm that hidden, powerful belief. Despite all her conscious efforts and desires, the subconscious broadcast is stronger.
And we're constantly broadcasting this subtle energy, aren't we? Through things like mirror neurons.
Yes. Our internal state, that core belief about ourselves, our worthiness, our confidence, or lack thereof, it leaks out. Subtly through micro-expressions, our posture, the tonality of our voice, our overall vibe or energetic.
And other people pick up on that.
Instantly and unconscious, their mirror neurons fire in response, causing them to subtly reflect back the energy they're receiving from us. It reinforces our existing self-concept. If someone walks into a room carrying genuine inner authority and self-respect,
others tend to respond with respect.
They do. Their mirror neurons pick up that signal and reflect it back through their behavior, attention, deference, cooperation. It becomes a closed, self-reinforcing loop. for better or worse.
Okay, so this means those repeating external patterns we see in our life, the financial struggles that never seem to end, the betrayals that keep happening, the income ceilings we can't break, the career paths that feel stuck, they aren't just bad luck.
They are far from random. They are a crucial diagnostic tool, a direct, objective printout of your unconscious program.
So if I keep experiencing betrayal,
it likely points to some internal programming around trust, vulnerability, or perhaps self-worth. If you consistently hit an income ceiling, say exactly $80,000 a year after, it reveals some deep internal programming about your worth, or maybe even a hidden fear associated with earning more than that. Maybe a fear of responsibility or visibility or leaving others behind.
It's like confirmation bias on steroids.
That's a perfect way to put it. Your brain, directed by the RAS based on subconscious, actively seeks out and filters reality to find evidence supporting those. It makes the self-fulfilling prophecy feel completely like external circumstances just happening,
rather than being generated by you from the inside out.
Exactly, which makes it feel like you're powerless to change it.
So the first practical step towards actually using this mirror conscious towards creating intention has to be identifying that hidden program. How do we do that?
The sources suggest starting with radical honesty. Look unflinchingly at the repeating patterns in your external life over, say,
not just the one-off events, but the themes.
Yes, the themes in your finances, your health, your relationships, your career. Look past the specific people or situations. What's the recurring dynamic?
Okay. Then
work backward. From the external pattern, deduce the likely core belief that must, like reverse engineering the reflection to find the object.
So the example of money flowing in and immediately flowing.
Right. The surface pattern is financial, but working backward, the core belief might not just be, I'm not worthy of money. It could be something deeper, like having money is dangerous, or I'll lose relationships if I'm wealthy, or I don't know how to manage abundance responsibly. You have to dig for the specific flavor of the limiting belief.
And once identified, how do we change if it's subconscious?
We have to go back to the state where it was likely installed. Since much of this deep conditioning happened when we were younger, operating in theta brainwave states.
Meditative, hypnotic, suggestible states.
Exactly. That's the most fertile ground for reprogramming. That's when the conscious, analytical mind, the gatekeeper, is relaxed. So you need to consistently use techniques that induce theta.
Like meditation. Hypnosis.
Meditation, self-hypnosis, guided visualizations, affirmations repeated with feeling, even just utilizing those drowsy moments right before falling asleep or just as you wake up. That twilight state is prime theta territory.
And it's not a one-shot deal.
Definitely not. Installing powerful, new, positive programming requires patience, persistent, relentless. Think about it. The mirror didn't create your current reality overnight based on one negative thought. It reflects the dominant, sustained vibration. You have to diligently, consistently practice the new belief. Feel the feeling of it being true now until you literally overwrite the old neural pathways and recalibrate that RAS. It takes time and
Okay, so we're broadcasting. Reality is mirroring our belief. But what happens when we try to broadcast something new, and we hit that wall of resistance, that feeling of fear? Fear seems like the biggest showstopper for most people.
It really is. Fear is the constant companion to growth and change. But the core insight the source material offers here is potentially game-changing. Fear is not the enemy. It's actually the teacher, and maybe even an indicator of potential.
Okay, fear is the teacher. How so?
Because of a fundamental physiological truth that the source is really hammer. Fear and excitement operate on almost the exact same electromagnetic frequency.
Wait, really? Fear and excitement are the same frequency?
Physically, pretty much. If you just analyze the raw bodily response, the sudden surge of energy, the heart pounding, the quickened breathing, maybe sweaty palms, the physical signature is nearly identical.
So what's the difference?
The interpretation, the cognitive label we slap onto that physiological arousal. Is this energy surge signaling danger, retreat, or is it signaling opportunity, engage? The feeling itself is neutral energy.
Wow, that reframes it completely.
Doesn't it? And we see this dynamic play out in the story of Stanley, the guy with the electronics repair shop. He was terrified of going bankrupt.
Right. And his fear created, what did the source call it? Energetic contraction.
Exactly. A literal tightening, a closing down, physiologically, emotionally, creatively, his whole being constricted. And that energetic contraction acted like a dam or a black hole. It distorted the electromagnetic patterns he was trying to send out. It blocked the natural flow of solutions, opportunities, abundance.
So instead of broadcasting possibility,
he was broadcasting scarce, limitation, constriction. His fear wasn't protecting him from failure. It was actively creating the very conditions for the failure he dreaded by blocking.
That connects beautifully with the ancient view you mentioned earlier, fear as just a shadow cast by our own light.
Precise. The ancient Egyptian mystery schools taught that. The idea being, the brighter your potential shine, the larger the shadow of fear it inevitably casts ahead of fear-size proportion.
And modern neuroscience gives us the why behind that shadow feeling so overwhelming.
It points to the amygdala, the brain's primitive alarm center. The issue is, the amygdala isn't very sophisticated. It evolved for immediate physical threats.
Saber-toothed tigers.
Exactly. It can't really distinguish between a genuine physical threat like that and a complex psychological, starting a new business, asking for a raise, having a difficult conversation, putting your art out there.
It reacts.
It triggers the exact same full-blown, paralyzing fight, flight, or freeze response, floods the system with stress hormones, hence why fear can feel so disproportionately intense compared to the actual danger.
Okay, so if fear is just energy and the amygdala overreact, the path forward isn't about trying to eliminate fear. It seems impossible anyway.
No, it's about transformation. It's about consciously reframing, shifting your interpretation of that internal physiological arousal as it's happening.
Like Sarah, the corporate attorney example, she was miserable but terrified to start her own practice.
Right. Classic fear of failure, fear of the unknown. But when she deliberately started relabeling that feeling, the tightness in her chest, the anxiety not as danger, but as excitement about growth, energy for expansion,
everything shifted internally.
Her whole electromagnetic broadcast, the same energy that was creating contraction and paralysis, started generating a signal of confident expansion, possibility, readiness. It's a fundamental principle. Fear-based actions taken here inevitably create outcomes that confirm the prophecies of limitation.
But courage-based decisions, meaning acting despite the feeling of fear.
That aligns you instantly with with flow, with what the universe naturally supports. It's about feeling the fear and doing it anyway, because you've reframed the fear as fuel.
Which leads us to that really sneaky, often even deeper obstacle, the fear of success.
Yes, this is a huge one, a massive hidden blocker for so many people. We think we fear failure, but often deep down we fear success.
Why would anyone fear success? That sounds counterintuitive.
Because success requires change. It requires you to become someone new, a version of yourself you haven't been before. You have to shed old identities, old limitations, and stepping into that completely unknown territory, that triggers the nervous system's deepest safe warning, unfamiliar terrain ahead.
Failure feels known, comfortable in a weird way.
Exactly. Failure might suck, but it's familiar territory for the ego and the nervous system. Success is a radical unknown. Who will I be? What will be expected of me? Will I lose people? Can I handle it? The ego often fights tooth and nail against that kind of
Ida's story, the 72-year-old managing the farm after her husband passed, really speaks to this, doesn't it? Walking with the fear.
Beautifully. She was undoubtedly terrified, overwhelmed by the financial and physical demand, but she chose expansion. She consciously viewed each challenge, each scary moment, not as proof she couldn't do it, but as evidence she was growing, moving beyond her old self, proving her capacity.
Her energetic interpretation was key.
It was the fear didn't mean stop. It indicated proximity to her destiny, to her next level of growth, not distance from it. We have to internalize that. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's a skill. It's the practice of reinterpreting that energy consistently. You're literally rewiring your nervous response to challenge.
So the practical technique for transmuting fear in the moment comes down to the question you ask yourself.
Exactly. When you feel that familiar tightening, that surge of anxious energy, catch yourself. Recognize it. Then consciously interrupt the default fear-based question, which is always some variation of, oh God, what might go wrong?
Because that question programs failure.
It does. Instead, you have to train yourself to ask a different, more empowering question. Ask, what is this fear pointing? What potential is just beyond this feeling? What growth is this shadow guard?
Treat the fear like intel, like a map.
Precisely. Treat it as valuable intelligence about where your growth edge lies. Use it as a compass directing you forward towards the potential instead of a stop sign demanding.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. From the broadcasting and mirroring back to the internal landscape. The source material uses this wonderful, persistent metaphor, the mental garden.
Yes, it's a very powerful and practical analogy. The core idea is that your mind, specifically your subconscious mind, is like fertile soil. And your thought, they are living seeds.
Seeds that take root in that subconscious soil.
Exactly. And the crucial thing about the subconscious soil, it's completely neutral. It doesn't judge the seeds you plant. It doesn't ask if a seed is helpful or harmful, true or false. It accepts all seeds without question.
And just starts the growing process.
Immediately. It faithfully nourishes whatever seed is, which is why the example of Elsie Hoyne struggling for 40 years, feeling stuck.
Until she realized her mental garden was just overrun.
Totally overrun with weeds. Those deeply ingrained limiting beliefs she'd been unconsciously planting and tending for decades. I'm not good enough. People always let me down. Life is hard. Those mental seeds were faithfully faithfully producing a harvest of corresponding negative experience year after year after year.
And this connects right back to neuroplasticity again, doesn't it? The repetitive thoughts, the weeds.
They create the neural path, like carving deep irrigation channels in the garden. Electrical impulses naturally follow the path of least resistance down those well-worn channels. This forms the automatic programs, the unconscious mental habits that run in the background, shaping perception, filtering opportunities, dictating reactions.
Okay, so thoughts are the seeds, the subconscious is the soil. What's the water? What makes them grow faster or slower?
The water. Emotions are the water. This is the critical detail determining the speed and intensity of manifestation, growth rate in the garden.
How so?
Negative emotions, fear, anger, worry, resentment, they act like a super potent fertilizer for the negative seeds, the weeds. They accelerate their growth, making those limiting patterns manifest more strongly in reality.
Which explains why dwelling on negativity feels like it makes things worse faster.
It literally does, energetic. Conversely, positive emotions, love, joy, gratitude, confidence, peace, they are the nourishing water for the positives want to grow. They accelerate the manifestation of desired outcome. This is why holding a feeling of gratitude now is so powerful. You're watering the seeds of abundance. And it's why trauma, watered by intense, heated negative emotion, embeds so and has such a lasting impact.
But we're not gardening in a vacuum, are we? There's the influence of others, the collective consciousness.
Right. This is a huge challenge. We're not tending our little plot in isolation. We're surrounded by other gardens, and seeds blow on the wind. Meaning the thoughts, beliefs, and emotional frequencies of people around us, the media we consume, the conversations, they can easily drift into our own mental garden. The source talks about spending time with perpetually negative people. It's like living next door to someone whose garden is nothing but dandelion, and those seeds are constantly blowing over your fence.
Taking root in your soil if you're not careful.
Exact. So vigilance is required, what the source calls mental quarantine sometimes. Being mindful of the information and energy you allow into your space, consciously choosing what you consume and time with, protecting your soil.
And the garden analogy also reminds us about time, about seeds.
Yes, the ancient wisdom on seeds vital. Those periods of intense challenge when old patterns seem to resurface with a vengeance, when things stuck, they often represent necessary times when the old, dead growth needs to die back. For that requires patience, trust in the process, recognizing that significant growth often happens underground before it breaks.
And throughout all seasons, the best fertilizer.
Gratitude. Gratitude is spiritual fertilizer. When you genuinely appreciate the good things already growing, even the tiny sprouts, you're sending a powerful signal to your subconscious. More of this, please. It literally changes the chemistry of the mental soil, makes it more receptive to positives, and helps tune that RAS filter to notice more things.
Okay, so tending the garden, managing the thoughts and emotions, this whole internal mastery process, it leads towards what the source calls sovereignty and flow.
Yes. Think of the universe with its underlying principles like a powerful flowing river. When you're aligned, when your thoughts and emotions are coherent, you naturally move with that current. That's flow.
But resistance.
Resistance fighting reality, worrying, complaining, trying to force things through sheer willpower. That's like building dams in the river. It creates tension, struggle, energetic blockage. Physiologically, it floods your system with cortisol.
The stress hormone.
Right. And cortisol has a known effect. It effectively shuts down the prefrontal cortex, the higher brain centers responsible for creating complex problem solving, rational thinking. When you're stressed and resisting, you literally can't think straight or access your best.
Which highlights the difference between effortful struggle and inspired action.
A massive difference. Effortful struggle feels heavy, draining, like pushing a boulder uphill. It requires constant willpower, and it inevitably leads to burnout because you're fighting the natural current.
Versus inspired action.
Inspired action feels different. It arises from clarity, from alignment. It feels energizing, light, almost effortless. It feels like cooperation with life rather than a battle against it. It aligns perfectly with that ancient Taoist concept of wu wei.
Wu wei, effortless action.
Or more accurately, action that is in harmony with the natural flow of acting without striving, without force, aligning yourself with the principles and letting the river carry.
So this brings us to defining sovereign. It's not about being a dictator controlling everything.
No, not ego-driven control at all. Sovereignty in this context is the deep recognition and embodiment of your inherent divine creative authority. It's understanding you are the conductor of your own electromagnetic orchestra, the primary creative force in your own reality, because you are an extension of the universal creative force.
But it starts internally.
It must start internal. The tragedy, as the source points out, is how most people unconsciously give away this creative power every single day. Every time you say, he made me angry, or I can't help how I feel because of the economy, or it's their fault my life is like this.
You're giving your power away. You're saying external factors control your internal state.
Exactly. You're denying your sovereignty. Look at Maria, who lost her job. The victim perspective says, poor me, the company screwed me over. The sovereign perspective, which she chose, said, Okay, the universe just cleared space forcefully. What is this making room for? My consultants.
Or David using his divorce not as an end, but as fuel for transformation.
Yes, sovereign individuals learn to see obstacles, challenges, endings, not as proof of their power, but as raw material, as feedback, as opportunities for redirection and creative response. But this requires profound internal
Governing your own thoughts and emotions first.
That's the foundation. As the ancient saying goes, often attributed to Hermetic text, the kingdom without reflects the kingdom within. True sovereignty is ruling your inner.
Okay, we've touched on gratitude a few times, but this final section really elevates. It's presented almost as the golden key, the master frequency that unlocks the highest potential of this whole system.
It really is. The source material is unequivocal. Gratitude isn't just a nice feeling or a polite social convention. It is a specific, measurable, incredibly powerful electromagnetic signal. It's a frequency that fundamentally restructures your reality from the inside out.
And we have science backing this up now.
We do. As we discussed with Heart-Brain Coherence, the research from HeartMath clearly shows that generating genuine feelings of appreciation, compassion, or care immediately shifts the heart's rhythm, smooth, coherent pattern.
And that coherent heart rhythm produces a powerful field.
An exceptionally powerful and orderly electromagnetic field. Remember, it's much stronger than the brain's field, and it radiates several feet out from the body. When you're in a state of genuine gratitude, you are broadcasting a clear, stable, high-amplitude signal of well-being, efficiency, and wholeness to the quantum vacuum.
And the key word there is genuine. The source emphasizes this isn't about just mechanically repeating thank you.
Absolutely not. This isn't about robotic affirmations. It has to be gratitude as a felt state, a genuine state. It's about truly accessing the feeling of recognizing the miracle of what you already have, the beauty around you, the support you receive, even for small. The moment you shift into that authentic feeling frequency, you stop broadcasting. You start broadcasting wholeness.
And there's this idea that appreciation causes things to appreciate, like literally grow.
Yes, the power of appreciation is literal in that sense too, where you place your focused attention, amplified by positive emotion. That's where energy flows. When you genuinely appreciate something in your life, your health, a relationship, the money you do have, your home, you are energetically nourishing. Your consciousness is signaling to the field of infinite possibilities. This frequency feels good. This is aligned. Generate more experiences that match. Things you appreciate tend to expand, multiply, appreciate, and value, both literally and...
So gratitude creates the fertile, coherent state, but what actually flips the switch from possibility to reality? The source points to belief.
Belief is presented as the actual active ingredient. It's the focused conscious, imbued with certainty, that acts as the final observer, collapsing the wave function of potential.
And there's a crucial distinction made between hope and belief.
A vital distinction, energetic. Hope, the source argues, often carries the underlying energy of lack. It implies wanting something you don't currently possess, which subtly reinforces the feeling and thus the reality of absence. I hope that job still vibrates with the possibility of not.
Whereas true belief.
True belief carries the energy of certainty. It's a deep, visceral, unwavering knowing. It's the feeling state of, it is already done. It exists for me now in the field of potential and its manifestation. Your nervous system, your electromagnetic signature actually cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined reality held with absolute belief and feeling and a physically present, actualized reality. Belief bridges the gap.
Wow. Okay. So when gratitude creates coherence and belief provides the certainty, the final piece seems to be intuition, knowing what action to take, perhaps.
Exactly. Intuition is described as your soul's inner guidance, your internal GPS. It's seen as direct, non-linear communication flowing from your higher consciousness or the broader intelligence of the field itself.
But it's distinct from just impulse.
Very distinct. Impulse is often loud, urgent, demanding, frequently tinged with ego desires or underlying fears. I need this now. True intuition, as the source describes it, tends to arrive more quietly, often unexpected. It comes with a subtle but deep sense of rightness, peace, or simple knowing. It might even suggest actions that seem illogical to the conscious.
Like Oscar, the musician in the source, getting that quiet nudge to go to a random coffee shop.
Yes. Logically, it made no sense, but he followed that quiet inner knowing and bam, he meets the exact producer who could launch his career. That's intuition guiding aligned action.
But accessing that quiet signal requires quietness.
It requires inner stillness. You need to be able to distinguish the subtle signal of intuition from all the mental chatter, the loud rock concert of doubts, worries, fears, external opinions, limiting belief. That noise scrambles the intuitive frequency.
Meditation helps create that stillness.
Meditation, spending time in nature, mindfulness. Anything that quiets the analytical mind allows that subtle, intuitive voice to be heard. And starting with gratitude, getting into heart coherence first is perhaps the fastest way to clear the static. When you're coherent, you're much more receptive to those intuitive hits, those whispers guiding your next step.
Okay, so let's wrap this up for the listener. Let's try and synthesize all these powerful principles into a few final practical steps, a kind of daily practice for conscious creation based on everything we've explored.
Right. So step 1, start every single morning by intentionally generating and, more importantly, feeling genuine appreciation for something, anything, for at least 5 solid minutes. Get that heart-brain coherence going immediately. Set your baseline frequency high for the day.
Okay, 5 minutes of felt gratitude. Got it.
Step 2, throughout the day, become a vigilant gardener of your mind. Monitor your thoughts and self-talk. When you catch the weeds, the lack thoughts, the worry, the self-criticism, consciously choose to pull them and plant a better feeling. A thought of possibility, appreciation, or simple neutrality. Actively override that old RAS program.
Constant mental gardening.
Okay.
And step 3.
Before making significant decisions, or even small ones if you practice, pause, tune inward. Don't just analyze logically. Sense how each potential option feels in your physical body. Does it feel like expansion, a lightness, an openness, a yes? Or does it feel like contraction, a tightness, anxiety, a no? Trust that somatic feedback. That's your intuition speaking through your body, guiding your...
Gratitude, mental gardening, and tuning into bodily, simple but profound.
It's a continuous practice of alignment.
So the core message weaving through all of this, you are not just a passive observer drifting through the universe.
Not at all. You are not separate from the universe. You are the universe expressing itself. Unique through the specific, powerful electromagnetic signature of your consciousness.
Your thoughts are real broadcasts. Reality is a mirror reflecting your inner state. Fear isn't a stop sign, it's fuel and potential. And alignment achieves through internal sovereignty, gratitude, belief. That's your true creative power.
That sums it up beautifully.
Okay, so let's leave everyone with a final provocative thought to really chew on. Something building on this idea of sovereignty and the mirror principle.
Go for it.
If external reality is truly a precise reflection of your internal programming, and the science and ancient wisdom presented here argue strongly that it is, then consider this. Every single uncomfortable, frustrating, challenging situation or person you encounter, it isn't a punishment. It isn't random bad luck. It is potentially a perfectly tailored, personalized educational curriculum designed by your own higher consciousness, reflected back by the universe, specifically to show you exactly where your next opportunity for growth, for healing, for reclaiming your power, and for conscious creation lie. It's pinpointing a belief ready for an upgrade.
So the question becomes, looking at the reflections in your current reality, what internal belief, what aspect of your programming are you ready to upgrade today?